Picture this: Brené Brown's client, let's call her Sarah, is standing at the edge of a cliff. Not a literal one, but a deep emotional drop. She's just been blindsided by a harsh truth about herself, the kind that makes your chest tighten and your mind spin. Everyone around her expects grace under pressure, but inside, the story feels like it's unraveling. What happens next isn't some quick fix or pep talk. Instead, Sarah faces a choice: run from the shame or lean in and fall hard. What if falling was actually the first step to rising stronger? Most of us want to skip past the pain, the awkward conversations, the gut punches. But Brené insists you've got to sit with discomfort first. That's the reckoning. It's where the real story begins. Sarah, a senior manager in a Fortune 500, got feedback that she wasn't connecting with her team. It crushed her, not because it was unexpected, but because she'd ignored those red flags for years. In her office, staring at the city skyline, she admits to Brené that she feels like a failure. That admission? It's the cliff edge where rising begins. Imagine emotions like tangled cords behind your desk. You can shove the mess deeper or pull each strand out to untangle it. Brené calls this process rumbling with your story, the uncomfortable, sometimes messy work of sorting what you really feel beneath your knee-jerk reactions. Like untangling cords, it's painstaking but necessary. When Sarah stopped running from her shame and instead owned every awkward, painful feeling, something shifted. The story stopped defining her. She reclaimed control, literally rewriting the ending. That's what Brené means by freedom, the power to choose who you become after the fall. Once you see the raw feeling, the rumble begins. This isn't a neat script, it's a wild debate inside your head. Brené calls it a challenge to your default narratives, the lies you tell yourself to feel safe. David, a Navy officer, faced a brutal demotion after a mission went sideways. His default story? He'd failed and was worthless. But Brené watched him step into the ring of his own thoughts, questioning assumptions instead of surrendering. That mental wrestle became the pivot point for his comeback, if only he could keep fighting there. Think of your mind as a wrestling ring where your emotions and thoughts grapple nonstop. Your default story is your champion, oftentimes worn out and biased. The rumble forces you to challenge that champ, to test its moves, and replace the false narratives with tough, truth-driven contenders. It's gritty work, like mental boxing. After embracing the rumble, David didn't just bounce back. He transformed his leadership style and relationship with failure. What looked like a personal defeat forged a resilient mindset, rooted in truth, not ego or fear. That's the payoff Brené wants you to see. Chasing truth changes your game entirely. Getting through a fall isn't a one-off event, it's a revolution in how you live daily. Brené's bold claim: wholehearted living happens after you rise strong, over and over. Maria's story isn't tidy. Decades of family conflict, silences, and wounds. Yet she showed up for her brother's funeral, vulnerability on full display, willing to risk old resentment surfacing. That choice wasn't the end, but the start of transforming family narrative, a messy revolution living out Brené's wholehearted ideal. Think of life's emotional work as daily sparring rounds, forging courage muscle, practicing showing up without armor. It's uncomfortable, repetitive, but each round conditions your spirit. Brené says, living wholeheartedly means embracing this grind instead of resenting it, turning struggle into your training ground. This relentless practice reweaves your relationships and sense of self. Maria's family didn't magically fix. They created a culture where brave conversations are welcome, a small revolution rooted in rising strong. Brené shows us this isn't just self-help, it's cultural evolution through personal courage. Curiosity might feel soft, but Brené makes it your secret weapon. Instead of wading in with judgment or shame, you get to ask hard questions that crack open new paths forward. Jamal owned a startup with his best friend, and after a nasty falling out, it seemed like game over. Instead of retreating into anger, he asked himself, what did I misunderstand? What was I afraid to face? That shift from blame to curiosity revealed hidden truths, turning a bitter ending into a possible fresh start. Picture curiosity as a locksmith with a tiny toolkit. Instead of forcing a door open with brute strength, like avoidance or defensiveness, you pick the lock carefully, discovering new rooms in your mind and relationships. Brené's brilliance is showing you that curiosity is a skill you can sharpen anytime trouble hits. Jamal's curiosity didn't erase his pain, but it rewrote the narrative from victim to explorer. He found forgiveness wasn't about others, but freeing himself. That insight, born from curiosity, is the subtle revolution Brené calls writing your own ending. It's not rewriting the past, but rearranging your path forward. We hear vulnerabilities soft as a whisper, but Brené flips the script. Vulnerability is the fiercest act of courage. It's the backbone of rising strong and wholehearted living. Rachel, a TED speaker, choked on stage. Her mind froze, words vanished. Instead of hiding backstage, she shared what happened with the audience the next day, raw and unfiltered. That moment of exposure electrified her connection to listeners, the exact opposite of weakness. It was fierce authenticity in full display. Think of vulnerability as battle armor made not from shields and steel, but from the willingness to go into the open unguarded. It sounds risky because it is. But this armor deflects shame and isolation. It's what Brené calls showing up anyway, the true mark of brave hearts. Rachel's courage didn't erase the stumble, but it transformed it into a bridge. Audience members reached out, moved by her honesty. That connection sparked new opportunities and deepened relationships. Brené calls this the paradox. Exposing your fragility is the strongest stance you can take. Remember Sarah standing on that cliff edge? She didn't leap blindly. She leaned into every terrifying feeling, let the rumble break her default story, and found a surprising truth. Falling hard is not the end, but the reset button. Brené invites you to try this yourself. Next time you stumble, press pause. Get curious, wrestle with your story, and don't just rise, rise strong. It's messy, it's brave, and it's the heart of what makes you whole. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.